I grew up in a suburban environment in northern Texas. As a native English speaker, I pronounce the general American diphthongs a, o, oi as a, o, and oi. I have the cot merger, my unstressed schwa is often pronounced I, and I say y'all in daily conversation. Besides that, my speech is practically identical to general American English, and throughout most of my life, talking to other general American speakers in the real world, I've only perceived a particular word as being pronounced and spelled as pronunciation. A couple of years ago, I watched a series of videos by the channel Fluent in Mandarin, which demonstrated how to pronounce the finals of pinyin. In those videos, the British person running the channel pronounced the words as pronunciation, and I didn't even bat an eye until I read a comment correcting him for the times he pronounced it as pronunciation. Nowadays, as a language YouTuber, I have to say this word in my videos a lot, and I get dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of comments telling me that it's pronounced pronunciation. I even got one lone email saying it as a minor correction. I'm gonna send this video to them a few days before it gets published as a response because I'm a petty lizard. Even my beloved Wiktionary relegates the word to a misspelling of pronunciation. And as I'm writing this script, my spell checker is trying to get this word changed to pronunciation. Now, from my perspective, I find this notion frankly, what's a good word to describe it? Frivolous? Pointless? Minute? Inconsequential? Not only with the sheer volume of people impolitely correcting me, a native English speaker, for something that in no way, shape, or form affects our mutual intelligibility, because if you can correct my speech, then you can also understand me, but also of the pronunciation of the word itself. The verb pronounce is completely regular in English. Present tense pronounce, past tense and past participle pronounced, third person singular presence pronounces, and gerund pronouncing. Granted, the gerund is pretty much always regular, but that's besides the point. It only makes sense that it keeps this regularity in noun form, pronunciation. It is true that English didn't derive pronunciation from the verb pronounce, followed by the nominal suffix ation. It borrowed it from French pronounciation, which in turn inherited the word from Latin. The verb pronounce was borrowed from the same sources separately. However, the same is true for the verb imagine and the noun imagination. Both were borrowed separately from French, yet you can still attach the suffix ation to turn the verb into a noun, and it works perfectly fine. We don't say imagination, that's just silly. And to me, as someone who doesn't pronounce this word that way, pronunciation sounds silly too. And so does hulp, which used to be the past tense form of help, before it got regularized to helped. The same can be said about durst, which got replaced by dared, and kine, which used to be the plural form of cow, but now most English speakers say cows. These are all examples of obsolete irregular forms of English words that have since become regular. Speakers of any language have a tendency to latch onto patterns and apply them to places where they're previously not used. Regularization makes communicating with language more efficient and is less of a headache for both learners and native speakers. It's a natural part of the evolution of language, and I believe it's happening with the word pronunciation, being reinterpreted as the verb pronounce, followed by the nominal ation suffix. But changes in the way we speak are not without opposition, particularly from prescriptivists. Prescriptivism is the act of describing how language should be used properly, as opposed to descriptivism, which describes how languages are used in reality by its speakers. Descriptivism is the train of thought that most modern linguists follow. They recognize that the apparent mistakes of today could become a part of the language in the future. Prescriptivism, on the other hand, is expecting every single speaker of a language to speak the standard, pure form of the language at all times, and continue to do so forever. This is ridiculous for practically every language, but especially General American English, which isn't even officially regulated. There's no document I can read published by an organization in charge of English that tells me exactly how to speak it. It is fair to correct learners and non-natives on the mistakes they make that hardly any natives would say, but correcting natives themselves for speaking in the way that feels most natural to them is, to put it one way, dumb. Saying the word as pronunciation is standardized, but standardization shouldn't fully dictate the speech of natives. After all, plenty of non-standardized words exist and are used in daily conversation, especially with slang. Just because a word doesn't exist in any prestigious dictionaries doesn't mean that the word itself doesn't exist, or is an invalid form of a different word. I'd also like to note that hypothetically, if a general American-speaking prescriptivist insists that the word is pronounced pronunciation, written here with narrow transcription, since most general American speakers pronounce the strut vowel in all words as a schwa, they'd also be pronouncing it wrong. From my point of view, saying and spelling the word as pronunciation is a part of my idiolect. An idiolect is the way a particular individual speaks a language. You can think of them like dialects, but for one specific person. I'm fortunate enough to only have to deal with comments for how I say this one word. Speakers of English dialects more peculiar than mine are often ridiculed for the way they pronounce things, and can even receive punishment for speaking their native dialects in certain scenarios. Now, in an academic setting, it is valid to expect everyone to spell and say it as pronunciation, but not everywhere is an academic setting, from casual conversations to this channel. I am currently attending university, but not to study linguistics. I have no professional experience with linguistics. I'm just an amateur who makes videos sharing neat things I found about languages with others. I make these videos because I like talking about languages, and this channel is personal to what I'm passionate about. And personally, I don't want to give in to pseudo-linguistic prescriptivism, so I'm going to keep saying it as pronunciation. Thank you to my Patreon supporters Furoist, Dopekid, Sunder, Erkesim, Adam Drinek, Junyok Kwon, Teo Tamara, among others, and goodbye.